Alexander Usyk is the consummate professional. All right? He's not going to be easy. I don't care how you come at him. He's a consummate professional. He's unique in that he'll bring the fight to you 1 minute, and then the next minute, he's moving and grooving. It's hard to catch up.
Daniel's a heavy puncher. Both hands carries dynamite. And it's just going to be a case of picking his moments, believing in his work, and there are 3 or 4 fundamental things that he must do. And if he does them, he'll have.
James Ali Bashir, the man who once shaped Daniel Dubois in the gym, shocks the boxing world by throwing his full support behind Alexander Usyk in the rematch. Bashir doesn't buy into the hype around Dubois' recent victories, calling them nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Even the wild slugfest with Jarrell Miller, which many saw as a statement, gets torn apart. Bashir says Dubois barely escaped, revealing cracks, not confidence. He respects the heart but questions the substance. In his eyes, Dubois isn't evolving, he's barely hanging on. And when that bell rings, Bashir believes Usyk will dismantle him without mercy.
You know, he's beaten Jarrell Miller. He's beaten Jarrell Miller stands out in my mind because that was a tough fight. That was a tough fight. Jarrell Miller put up a dog fight with
Don Charles unleashes fiery belief, branding Daniel Dubois as a re-engineered monster ready to crush Alexander Usyk. He swears Dubois has transformed, smarter, colder, and more explosive than ever. But here's where it all unravels. Usyk isn't just a fighter, he's a problem solver who's dismantled bigger threats without blinking. While Charles pushes the narrative of evolution, Usyk brings execution. The hype around Dubois might roar loud, but against Usyk's icy precision, it could all collapse like a house of cards. This isn't a comeback, it's a collision course with a merciless tactician.
Usyk, in your opinion, can't cope with that?
No one can. No one can. No one can. We bring our game. Like I said, Daniel has now spent, by the time this fight comes around, he would have spent 2 years, exactly 2 years with this current.
On the other side, Daniel Dubois storms in like a man possessed, loud, aggressive, and throwing out threats like confetti. Face to face with the silent assassin Alexander Usyk, Dubois barks about vengeance, dominance, and rewriting the story in the rematch. But here's the twist, Usyk doesn't flinch. While Dubois tries to win the room with noise, Usyk's calm presence screams louder. The real issue is, Dubois looks like he's selling fear, not confidence. And in that ring, bravado won't stop history from repeating itself.
Legend. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be totally different from last time. Can't wait to put on the show and become undisputed and just do the business. This is London. This is my town, and Wembley is my stadium. I'm just ready to.
Moreover, Alexander Usyk radiates silent destruction, no theatrics, no panic, just lethal intent. His focus is ice cold and laser locked on Daniel Dubois. There's no hesitation, no nervous energy, just a calm declaration of victory that hits harder than any punch. While Dubois yells, Usyk whispers, and it echoes louder. Beneath that composed exterior brews a fire Dubois can't read, let alone survive. The real issue is, can Dubois survive 12 rounds against a tactician who dissects chaos with clinical precision? Usyk isn't coming to fight emotionally, he's coming to execute, and he's already a step ahead.
But now my focus is Daniel.
And you have no doubt that you're going to beat him?
I think I win, yeah. I believe.
Frank Warren cranks up the heat, insisting July 19th is Daniel Dubois' shot at rewriting history. He calls it redemption, a moment to rise from the ashes and flip the script on that humiliating loss to Alexander Usyk. But here's where it turns controversial. Warren's belief feels less like confidence and more like desperation masked as destiny. He hypes Dubois as Britain's next hero, but the reality is far darker. Usyk already shattered that dream once, and he's only sharpened since. While Warren sells hope, Usyk's cold brilliance might just tear it all down again. This isn't legacy, it's a looming disaster.
19th is a chance for Daniel Dubois to go down in British sporting folklore and to go and do the business, reverse that result.
Simon Jordan ignites a buzz, declaring Dubois versus Usyk will be no ordinary fight, but a landmark event in heavyweight history. While he respects Usyk's mastery and pedigree, Jordan's focus sharpens on Dubois. He asserts that the young juggernaut has evolved into a full-fledged force both mentally and physically primed to upend the division. Yet Jordan reveals a twist. This isn't a routine title defense. Instead, he envisions a turning point, a war that will surpass all challenges faced by Usyk. With Dubois at dangerous maturity and Usyk still reigning supreme, Jordan predicts this clash will redefine dominance and unleash chaos.
Usyk is a class act, a mature individual because he's older and wiser, comes from a completely different background. But Daniel Dubois is growing into himself. This will be one hell of a fight. This will be a proper proper fight, like all of the Usyk fights.
Eddie Hearn tries to sound upbeat, but the hesitation bleeds through every word. He talks up Dubois, hinting there's still hope, but it reeks of pre-fight damage control. The reality is far harsher. Dubois is walking blindfolded into a nightmare. That crushing loss to Parker and the long layoff have stripped away his rhythm, leaving him rusty and exposed. On the flip side, Usyk remains a relentless force, razor-sharp, active, and thriving under pressure. No distractions, no weaknesses. The worst part, even Amir Khan, while offering polite praise, couldn't hide the brutal truth. Usyk is on another level, and Dubois may not survive long enough to land a shot.
No, I think I'll give Dubois a shot in that fight. It's a good time. I mean, a little bit of inactivity because of the fight falling through against Joseph Parker, but you know, it's exciting, and I think definitely.
Amir Khan throws his weight behind Daniel Dubois, calling him a beast reborn and full of dangerous potential. He insists Dubois has grown from the brutal lesson Usyk taught him and now stands better prepared for war. But here's where the fantasy fades. Power alone doesn't dethrone a master. Usyk isn't just skilled, he's surgical. His timing, footwork, and composure are levels beyond anything Dubois has dealt with. While Dubois may bring aggression, he's still missing the calm brilliance required to outthink a technician like Usyk. Even rising contender Masatuma cuts through the hype, warning that Dubois is entering the domain of a fighter who doesn't just win, he dissects. Against Usyk, brute force becomes self-destruction.
This guy's a beast. He's a good fighter. He's a hard fighter to beat. And I think he'll learn from the mistakes he made in the first fight against Usyk, and it will give him a hard fight. Look, he has the tools to.
Masatuma lights a fire under the heavyweight division with a brutal assessment that rips through the hype. According to him, Usyk might parade as a slick technician, but it's all smoke and mirrors. He calls him a glorified illusionist, dependent on movement and angles to hide his lack of real fighting heart. And Dubois, Ituma doesn't hold back. He tears into him as a muscle-bound mirage with no real ring IQ, mentally fragile and emotionally untested. He claims Dubois' power is just a flashy distraction that will collapse under true pressure. In Ituma's ruthless analysis, neither man deserves their spot at the top. He sees them both as manufactured threats, overrated, oversold, and overdue for reality checks. To him, this isn't a clash of titans, it's a showdown between two carefully marketed illusions.
Some people are talented, some people are dedicated to the sport, they're not consistent. Or I think the biggest factor is they're not confident in themselves, or they just ain't mentally prepared to be.
Spencer Oliver fires up the debate with a razor-sharp breakdown of Daniel Dubois' evolution, calling him a transformed beast loaded with dangerous self-belief. He insists Dubois isn't the same confused fighter who fell to Usyk. He's stronger, smarter, and now carries a conviction that wasn't there before. Spencer claims this inner belief is the true weapon, the silent power behind Dubois' intensity. But here's the twist. Adam Smith slams the brakes on the hype, warning that belief alone won't dethrone a surgeon like Usyk. Confidence is fuel, not armor. Usyk doesn't crumble under pressure, he thrives in it. While Dubois may have redefined himself, Smith argues that Usyk remains the benchmark of brilliance, too polished, too sharp. This isn't just about growth, it's about levels. And unless Dubois has found more than just belief, he could be stepping into another brutal lesson against the most calculated force in the heavyweight division.
And he believes in himself, you know, and that's why he's talking the way that he's talking right now. He's a different proposition to the one that was boxing Alexander Usyk a couple of years ago. And he goes, not just physically, not just mentally, he totally believes in himself.
Carl Froch lights the fuse with fiery praise, calling Daniel Dubois a reborn savage armed with confidence and power ready to shock the world. But here's where the facade cracks. Froch slips, admitting Usyk is still the clear favorite. The contradiction explodes. He sells belief in Dubois but quietly waves the white flag. While he pushes the redemption arc, the truth screams louder. Usyk is a cold technician, a master of dismantling hope. Froch's compliments start to sound more like setup than support, like he's cushioning the fall before the collapse. Deep down, even Froch knows Dubois isn't charging into glory. He's heading straight into a storm.
That Dubois now is a different machine.
Self-confidence will be...
And time waits for no man, as the saying goes. I just think that this is a fight that's exciting. It's a good fight. You've got to make Usyk the favourite, but it's a fight that Daniel Dubois can definitely win.
Russ Anber explodes with pure fury, tearing into Don Charles for what he calls the most unhinged press conference meltdown he's seen in years. Charles labeled Usyk a cheat, a liar, and even attacked his character as a man of faith, but Anber wasn't having any of it. He humiliates Charles, calling the tirade pathetic and desperate, proof that Dubois' camp is completely unhinged. Anber doesn't just criticize, he dismantles, claiming this isn't confidence, it's collapse. Instead of focusing on fight tactics, they're hurling accusations like amateurs on edge. For Amber, the writing's on the wall. Dubois' team is unraveling mentally. While Don Charles screams fire, Usyk stands cold and untouched, already dominating the psychological battlefield. According to Amber, this isn't strategy, it's panic. Dubois hasn't even entered the ring, and his corner's already waving emotional white flags. In a war of minds, Usyk's already landed the knockout.
Something, the trainer says to the other fighter and says, you're a cheat and you're not a God-fearing man and you're a liar. And, I think this is just, absolutely insane.
Russ Amber unloads with full force, declaring that Daniel Dubois isn't preparing for a boxing match. He's marching into a calculated demolition. He laughs off the hype swirling around Dubois, shredding the illusion that raw power can match Usyk's merciless tempo. According to Amber, Usyk doesn't just outbox opponents, he breaks their will, drags them into deep waters, and drowns them without mercy. He scoffs at talk of a brave effort, insisting courage crumbles when you're gasping for air and being clinically picked apart. Amber questions whether Dubois truly understands the nightmare he's walking into, because Usyk's not here for drama, he's here to dismantle. Every round is a slow execution, not a contest. From the opening bell, Amber believes Usyk will suffocate Dubois with pressure and precision. In his words, this isn't a comeback story, it's a slow-motion collapse waiting to happen. For Amber, the result is sealed before the first punch is thrown.
I think that Usyk just has too much in that engine for him, and as spirited as an effort as he might try to put on, fighting at the pace that Usyk makes you fight,
Abigis Klimas fires off a thunderous declaration. This isn't just a title defense for Alexander Usyk, it's a monumental leap toward boxing immortality. If Usyk becomes the first ever two-time undisputed heavyweight champion, it won't just rattle the division, it'll detonate history. Klimas insists this is legacy in the making, the line between greatness and god-tier status. Usyk isn't in it for belts, he's rewriting boxing's holy scripture. Even hardened veteran Frank Warren, who's watched legends rise and fall, admits this moment feels different. No heavyweight has ever stood where Usyk now stands. The stakes, astronomical. The pressure, unrelenting. But Usyk thrives in the furnace. This isn't about Daniel Dubois anymore. This is about one man's march toward untouchable greatness. The clock is ticking, history is watching, and boxing may never be the same again. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are we about to witness a legend ascend beyond all eras?